We have a special edition of Let's Talk Jonesboro today, and we're honored to have with us Arkansas First Lady Susan Hutchinson and Children's Advocacy Center Executive Director Elizabeth Pulley. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you.
You guys have a passion in your hearts, and we're here to talk about that because you do nonprofit work, and this is your platform.
Yes.
And
Number one.
Number one. This is number one in your heart. And, I'm sure you have so many responsibilities as First Lady, and it's good to have something that you're really passionate about. And I know from talking to people around the state and involved in this stuff that this is truly a passion. You're not just winging it. So tell us about why this matters to you, children's advocacy, and how you got started in it.
Well, what happens in a child's hood lasts a lifetime. And I saw that in my parents' lives. They had different tragedies. They had rough time growing up economically, health challenges. Their parents, my dad's parents passed away from tuberculosis. He lost both of his sisters, a brother. Another brother had to go to the sanatorium. It's a very, very sad story. There was rejection by other family members because of it, afraid of the tuberculosis. My mom lost her dad when she was 9. He was run over by a drunk driver that put them into immediate poverty. So they had a lot of sad stories. There were some triumphs along the way. They were in church. They knew the Lord. That was very helpful. They didn't have crimes done against them, but just those severe challenges in life they had to overcome to be good parents and loving parents, which they were, and I grew up in a happy Christian home. Lots of siblings, 6 brothers and sisters, and it was really fine. And growing up as a soccer mom, I had a fellow soccer mom who was in child evangelism. She was a Christian school teacher, and one day she confided in me that her dad had been a pedophile against her and her sister. And she mentioned some of the hardships that had brought on, and she had actually prayed for her daddy to die so her mom could grow up to marry a nice man. Didn't work out that way, but somehow she survived. And years later, back in Benton County, I was approached by a mutual friend who suggested that I tour the Children's Advocacy Center there in Rogers. And I did, and it grabbed my heart, and I thought of that friend, that soccer mom, and thinking she didn't have a Children's Advocacy Center to help her. See, she never told her mom. She didn't want to hurt her mom.
My goodness.
She thought she was protecting her mom, not to tell. And so with the Children's Advocacy Center, though, we have a safe place where the child can come, or teenager can come and tell us the bad things that have been happening that never ever should be done to a child. And they can tell us very safely, very confidently, very quietly, very accurately, very truthfully, and very completely. And we videotape the entire conversation, and our people are trained. We're, yes, a bunch of do-gooders, but we are trained. Our forensic interviewers are trained in how to talk to a child of each and every age and get to the truth in a very calm and pleasant way for the child to reveal things that they've been burying down inside for a long time. And it's very helpful to investigators, prosecutors, to get to the truth and stop the bad.
It's important to have the ability to talk about things that are very difficult to talk about, whether you're 6 years old or 60, I would imagine. And
no. And since that girlfriend, I have met a couple of other women who never ever told. And one's young enough to be my daughter, and another one is my age, and they went decades without telling anyone. And they will tell you the problem, and they've since told, and they've since gotten counseling for adults that have suffered such childhood traumas of sexual and or physical abuse. And the one friend was very chronic, and it's amazing that she survived, much less flourished as a professional woman. But the hardship is there. It doesn't go away just because the body gets older. The challenges are still there.
those of us who did not experience this probably, I think, Elizabeth, don't understand how common it is. But you guys have statistics that say it's a lot more common than we might think.
Absolutely. I mean, just within our CACs across Arkansas, we have seen over 5,000 children this year.
5,000 children this year.
Within the year.
And did these numbers, when you guys got involved in this, did it surprise you to find it's this common?
Well, it surprised me. I assumed that it was a rare thing, that it was the stranger, not the biological dad or other family member, but the statistics show us, tragically, 90% of the time, the assailant, the perpetrator, is known by her victim. This goes across genders, and then the numbers are 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys before they're 18 shall have suffered some form of sexual abuse.
It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable, the numbers. And with those kind of figures, and knowing that CAC nationwide is less than 30 years old, and we don't have enough of the centers here in Arkansas, that tells me that a lot of children in the United States have grown up without help.
That's right.
That my girlfriend needed. And it tells me that there's a lot of hurting adults out there that wouldn't tell to this day for fear of what other people would think of them, what their spouse would think of them, what their children would think of them, or anybody else would think of them, that somehow they feel dirty and they feel shame for what was done to them. And so there's counseling for them as well, and they can contact a children's advocacy center, and we can give them referrals to counseling services for adults that have suffered such trauma. Our services are for verbal up to 18 years of age, and of course if there's an adult who has the mental development of a child, we'll help them, we'll talk to them. Sadly, those children and adults with a childlike mind are targeted by evil people, and so we want to help them too. It's very, very important, those years you're growing up. They last you a lifetime, so they help build you, they help tear you down. They help reinforce the good in you, or they can create angst inside of you. That's very, very difficult to get through, and the longer it's unattended, the more difficult it is to get rid of. And we see terrible outcomes. The medical community, like Children's Hospital, very much aware how this burden and this angst and this turmoil, even though it might be buried, and even though you might become a fine, upstanding citizen and a preacher or a teacher or a doctor, and by all accounts everybody thinks it's really fine, this angst inside of you, unaddressed, can pull down your health, can shorten your life, can create all kinds of problems for you, besides you feeling unworthy.
Right.
But we know we're not unworthy. We're human beings created in the image of God. So we want to help get those burdens out of people's lives. And I studied biology and chemistry in college, and I've, through the years, have come to appreciate the brain, and I recognize it as the strongest organ in our bodies. The heart's so important, but the brain so controls everything in your body and how we think. Our brains react to our thinking processes and our emotions, and it sends out signals to organs and so forth to create chemistry that can be helpful or can be hurtful.
So scientifically, you're saying that this will
Yes.
haunt, I mean, almost, that being the wrong word, but it kind of haunts your life as you
Yes.
go on
Yes,
with these
it's,
type of...
right, it's a dark shadow on your soul, on your brain, and it doesn't need to be there. The bad person did bad things. The shame is theirs. The guilt is theirs. It's not yours.
Right.
It's theirs. And you can blame yourself all you want to, but somebody did something to you that they shouldn't have done and should not have happened, and it's not your fault.
Right.
It's not your fault. And that's part of the health services that we offer, the mental health services.
Absolutely. And there's times where we see children coming into the centers and there's sad, sad stories, but we see the turnaround and we see the victories and we see the child with a smile on its face and moving forward on a healthy path, and that is what we want. And that's the successes that we see through our centers across the state.
Now, you guys have spent a day in Jonesboro, and we are so grateful. Mayor Harold Perrin he's been talking about this, and he's so excited that you guys came up and spent your day with us. You also spent a lot of time at the Children's Advocacy Center in Jonesboro, and we've had Christy Nichols, the local Northeast Arkansas Executive Director, on our show on Let's Talk.
Oh, good.
And
Good.
What did you see out there, and what type of feel do you have for what we do, and what needs do we need? What can people do to help the local chapter?
Well, the CAC here, with Christy Nichols' direction, and of course it's a layperson's board, volunteers helping to direct it, they've worked very, very hard to have an easy access location, and also to make it child-friendly inside, decorated, have activities for the young people to participate in while they're waiting to be interviewed, or perhaps they're waiting for a brother or sister to be interviewed. So that's important. We don't want them to get more anxious. When they walk in that door, we want them to say, oh, okay, it's going to be okay. Whatever that bad person told me was going to be done to me is not going to happen.
Yeah.
These people are nice, and I'm safe here, and they'll open up and they'll talk. And
all the centers when you walk in are the safe, friendly environment. So bright colors and toys and things that kids can relate to that make them feel comfortable. And so walking even into the center here in Jonesboro, that's what you see. You see the toys and you see something that a child can relate to that maybe will excite them about being there for the moment, that encourages them to take the next step and to tell their story.
Right. And we can do all the services right there with the medical exam. We require special equipment so that the sexual assault nurse examiner can do his or her job of validating the condition of the young person's body, and then apply whatever testing kits are needed to send off to the lab. That's very, very important. And then, of course, the interview to happen there with it being videotaped. Of course, easy access for DHS agents. Sometimes it's in the middle of the night, and we get called in to meet there with a law enforcement officer or a DHS agent.
My goodness.
Or an investigator. I mean, it's no telling. So we're on call 24 hours, 7 days a week, to be accessible to the children, because when they need us, they need us.
How does a call or a case initiated?
Well, if you're suspicious of child abuse, you can call the hotline 1-844-SAVE-A-CHILD, and be prepared, names, addresses, and so forth. And you're not necessarily sure that something has happened, but it's just not making sense, it's just not measuring up. It's just not normal what's going on, and your call may be one of many that's come in regards to that one particular person, that one particular child. And so you don't know that, but the investigators put it all together and check things out. The other thing, of course, is calling your local police or your prosecuting attorney's office and reporting to them your suspicions, and they can take it from there. And sometimes a DHS agent is just checking on a case that's already in the system for other reasons, and they realize the child shouldn't be limping around like that, or they're too withdrawn, that they see the red flag signals, and they may bring them to us and have them talk to us about what's going on in their life. Sometimes there's just big traumas that happen in a child's life, and they may have witnessed their mom getting beaten up. They're traumatized and terrorized by that. That's a crime done in their presence, and the authorities can bring them to us, and we're more than willing to speak with them and do the counseling and helping them work through that. We don't want them growing up with nightmares and terrors. That's very disruptive to their growing and their mental well-being, and it's not good medical outcomes. And so the investment that people might do today in support of the Children's Advocacy Center here in Jonesboro, that is a wonderful investment, because you will be offsetting so much more cost in the future from health issues, underemployment, dysfunction, more DHS agents needed, to possible incarceration, that they strike out at other people and hurt other people, or they become compliant personalities and go along with other crimes. It's really dismal, and so we're on a mission to interact with the children and intervene as early as possible, so that get that life redirected, get the bad stuff out, get their thinking really good, knowing that they're a worthy person, worthy to be loved. They are loved, they're trusted, and they can grow up to be a really nice person and educated and successful.
That's fabulous. Fabulous work that you're doing, and it's important to our residents and everyone in our state. And thank you, ladies, for taking the time to visit with us. First Lady, Ms. Pulley, I appreciate you guys being on Let's Talk Jonesboro.